Hi, I did my presentation on The Tale of Genji, which was written by, let me see how I say her name, Murasaki Shikabu. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. She's a Japanese writer. It's interesting because she was a woman, but unlike most of the world, females in Japan were allowed to have an education just as much as men were. She was a part of a high-ranking family, but she wasn't. So her family was the Fujiwara family, which overtook the emperor before the 11th century, but she wasn't a part of that line. She was kind of like a lower rank, but she was still high class, which is why she had such a high education. The book was actually written in a dialect that only like the highest educated Japanese had, so a lot of people couldn't understand the work, so it was more so shared between higher educated, higher ranking Japanese men and women. This novel was also highly praised by the emperor at the time, which was unusual because men didn't usually write or read novels. They usually left novels for the women and children, but the emperor read it and other high-ranking men also read the novel, so it got very popular that way as well. The book is basically about the emperor's son, who I can't say his name. Let me see. I can't really say his name, but he basically got removed from the line of succession because his mom wasn't a noblewoman, and so it kind of just follows his life as being kind of like a commoner since he wasn't going to be an emperor after his dad. This was considered the first novel because it had like the first aspects of novels that we have today, so like a main character, had many minor characters and other major characters. It didn't have a plot development exactly because it just followed the life of the son, but it also is historically significant to Japan because it showed what life was like during the Heian period in Japan. Just like exchanging poems. They didn't really have novels or anything, but a lot of the women and men exchanged poetry and just like letters. So it's just a lot of that. What it's like being a high-ranking man in Japan and then being a commoner in Japan as well. So since the novel was written in such an intricate dialect and not many people were able to understand it, it was mostly depicted as like art and other annotations of it. So the actual dialect is not still around. However, it was translated first in the 20th century by Akiko Yasano. It was translated to modern Japanese, and we haven't been able to recover like the actual dialect ever since. So basically, as a recap, this is like the first novel ever written just because it has a lot of the aspects of novels that we've seen today. It was historically significant because it was historically significant because it showed like what life was like in Japan, as well as different aspects of developing like characteristics, our character development, and it influenced a lot of the art and plays at the time. Since it was such a well-known piece of art or piece of work, artists could paint it or they could write plays about it and everyone would know what it was because it was just such a widespread work of art. Thank you so much.